None received, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So I wanted to give new members of the committee a brief introduction to the Human Resources team and also the Human Resources function. So I just have a few slides to take you through. The first thing I thought I'd do is just talk about the governance arrangements of Human Resources. So just to explain that the Chief Executive is the head of paid service, and he has responsibility for staffing matters as the employer, and his role in this capacity is a statutory role. HR is a non-executive function, and the HR and Council Tax Committee has responsibility for decision making on key human resource and personnel issues not reserved by the Council or those delegated to officers. In terms of TDC as an employer, we're a major employer in the area, and you'll receive a report this evening that breaks down our workforce in more detail. But we have more than 530 permanent staff and approximately 150 casual/seasonal workers. And we have those numbers at any one time, as well as engaging a number of apprentices, which Carol and Debbie Ann will be talking to you about a little bit later on. 94% of our workforce reside within the tendering district too. The organisation is also committed to providing opportunities for local residents under our volunteer scheme. And as an anchor organisation, TDC plays a key role in shaping and developing the skills of the local workforce, seeking to lead by example and promote best practice. And this is demonstrated through our role as a disability confident leader and a gold award holder for the Defence Employers Recognition Scheme and our family friendly accreditation. I've just provided a structure chart there of the team, and you'll see that Anastasia reports directly into the Chief Executive, and myself and Carol report into Anastasia, and then Jo is our HR manager, and then her team underneath her comprises of 2 advisors, 2 HR officers, our lovely HR apprentice, who's wonderful, and we've got a temporary recruitment advisor joining us shortly. In terms of the functions that HR cover, the team oversee the Council's recruitment and selection process, and that includes pre-employment compliance and the induction and onboarding of new employees, working alongside our recruiting managers to attract and retain the best talent for the organisation. We also consider our employee wellbeing very important. ensuring equal job opportunities and fairness for all, whilst promoting diversity amongst its workforce. The Council's recognised trade union is Unison, and the HR team work closely with the local branch chair to ensure effective consultation and collective bargaining to achieve the best possible results in pursuing the organisation's aims and objectives, whilst also representing the interest of Unison members. The team are responsible for the implementation of the authority's people policies, one of which you'll see here this evening, ensuring that they reflect identified best practice and the very latest employment legislation. The team's role is also to provide professional, consistent advice to our managers on those policies and employees, also on all human resource related matters. Just in terms of workforce planning, since 2019, the Council has undergone an extensive and comprehensive organisational change programme, and that started at the most senior level. The HR team's role has been really important in supporting our senior managers to help design their structures to ensure that we have a structure that recognises the talent within the organisation and provides a career progression route, recognises the increased levels of corporate responsibility and complexity for service delivery, and also provides key roles and structures to enable the organisation to meet these needs. The Council has a real focus on growing our own talent, and that helps us to meet the needs of both the workforce and the local community. We have several employees currently undertaking professional apprenticeships across the organisation, and that includes, but is not limited to, accountancy, arborist, legal executive, and also operational management. We've also had a number of successes over the last 12 months in terms of officer qualifications, and we have a number of officers who have achieved degrees in the following areas: human resources, chartered surveying, chartered management, and digital and technology solutions. In terms of the terms and conditions of our employees, it's important to note that Tendring District Council's terms and conditions of employment conform with those established for local government by the National Joint Council, that's the NJC, including pay. The NJC is made up of representatives from employers, Unison and other trade unions, and the agreements they reach after their negotiations are contained in the Green Book. And all of the terms and conditions that the authorities' employees are signed up to are NJC terms and conditions in the main. The East of England Local Government Association, so the HR and Council Tax Committee will recall that the Council worked with ELGA last year to carry out an independent review of our pay structure. And this led to some options to support best use of our NJC pay spine in alignment with the employment market to make sure that we are, in a position where we can attract the best possible talent. That included salary and benefits benchmarking, improved marketing of vacancies and our employment offer, and expanding our well-established grow our own ethos. There are also further plans to expand this work. Thank you. I hope that provides you with an overview of the team and its functions. But I'd like to take this opportunity to ask any questions.
You got any questions? No. Gary? No. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And apologies for the technical difficulties.
Right, item 6, apprenticeship update, and I think it's Debbie Ann.
Thank you, Chairman. This is a combination of myself and Debbie Ann, so we're doing a double act.
Can I just say thank you for coming in on your holiday?
No problem. Okay, so what we thought we would do is give you an overview about apprenticeships, and we're doing a high-risk presentation this evening because we've got some little videos to show you as well. And anybody who's familiar with using Teams is videos and Teams don't always go together. So we may succeed or we may not. So we're keeping our fingers crossed on this. But first of all, I just wanted to bring a bit of context to it, really, because we talk about apprenticeships. And obviously, apprenticeships have been in existence for quite literally hundreds of years. But the definition of them has changed enormously over that time. So this is the current definition about what an apprenticeship involves. So it's a paid job where the employee learns and gains valuable experiences. So I think one of the key things in there is that anybody who's on an apprenticeship will be receiving a salary. There are different routes to salary, but they will be being paid. Now, alongside doing their job training, apprentices must spend at least 20% of their normal working hours on off-the-job training. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that they'll be going to college. Probably many of us grew up in an age where people would just have day release, go to college for a day and then come back into the workplace. That can be a part of what an apprenticeship involves, but not necessarily. So there may be some contact, but a lot of apprenticeships now are delivered actually sort of through online learning, through webinars and so forth, and also through sort of the support they get from their tutor and mentor as they're doing their learning. So the idea of sort of doing that day release is not, it's not gone completely, but it's certainly not as commonplace as it once was. So that's why we now talk about this off-the-job training, and that can involve a whole range of different things. But the whole purpose of it is about they achieve the knowledge, skills and behaviours for that apprenticeship. So all apprenticeships are broken down into knowledge that's required, the sort of skills that they need to be able to do that, and the behaviours that have to be demonstrated. And the off-the-job training is about making sure they're equipped to be able to deliver those. As we said, that might be at college, it might be at university, or it might be with another training provider. So if we go to the next screen, please. So what I want to do is just in terms of giving that national sort of overview, I think the next one, yeah. So here's our first high risk piece then. So this is, so again, that's the sort of like the national definition about apprenticeships. And then the government has also produced a number of short videos that are about promoting apprenticeships. And this is just one very short one that we just want to share with you, just to give you that little bit of a flavour about what's involved with that. So hopefully this will work.
I started a university degree, but it wasn't for me. What I really wanted to do was work in social media. My mum told me about an apprenticeship at Channel 4. I looked into it and thought, this looks perfect for me. There was a really tough selection day, but it worked out for me and I got the apprenticeship. As an apprentice, I learned all about the Channel 4 brand, video editing skills and posting about new shows on Facebook and Twitter. I spent 1 day a week on college work, but most of the training was on the job. I'm now a social media executive and I'm mentoring the next generation of apprentices. So on the Worthies objective, Monday after your training, I've done so much and met so many cool people. Earning my own money is one of the best things about being an apprentice. I can contribute at home, do what I want with my mates, and take good care of myself, obviously. It was a big move to start an apprenticeship, but the best decision I've ever made.
Now, wasn't the right route for them. And yet, when I talk a little bit later about some of the success stories we've got, they're people who've then gone on to get a degree, but not through that traditional route. So for us in the council, we've got two aspects to apprenticeships within Tendring District Council. And it is important that we just sort of separate those two parts out, because otherwise it can get a little bit confusing. So Tendring is registered as an approved training provider to deliver apprenticeships, and Career Track is the name that we give to that particular service. And Debbie Ann's going to say a bit more about that in a moment. But within Tendring, as a council, we have a number of staff who are undertaking apprenticeships in a whole range of different subjects. And some of those Katie was referring to a moment or two ago. And they're delivered by a whole range of different companies, one of which might be Career Track, but we have people who are learning with a lot of other providers as well. So we've got TDC as an apprenticeship provider, using the name Career Track, and then we have TDC that has apprentices within it, not necessarily with Career Track, but learning on a whole range of different programs. So it's just about that distinction. It's quite helpful, I think, just to try and make sure that everybody's clear about those two different bits. So I'll hand over to Debbie Ann for the next bit.
Thank you, Carol. So Career Track was established 40 years ago in 1983, and we were very pleased to celebrate our 40th birthday earlier this year during National Apprenticeship Week, which is a week of celebrations for apprentices all over. Happens every year, and we celebrated our 40th birthday during that apprenticeship week. We provide apprenticeships in a number of different vocational areas. We are currently providing them at levels 2 and 3 in customer service, business administration, that's at level 3. Team leader supervisor is also at level 3. And recent addition is the public service operational delivery officer at level 3. And that is an apprenticeship that is specific to local authorities and the civil service. And that is a programme that we find, because of our expertise of working in the industry, if you like, it's a lovely qualification, and it suits a variety of different occupational areas. And as you may well know, apprenticeships have given many young people a start in their career within the council. At the last count, I think we were on 13%.
Yeah, something like that. Might even be a bit higher than that.
Workforce started their time on a Career Track apprenticeship, and obviously over the last 40 years, that's quite a number. Carol, do you want to do this one?
I don't mind, really.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, we provide a whole range of different apprenticeships, and it's not just within tendering. So we also work with a number of other local authorities. So that includes, as you can see, that we've got Colchester, Braintree, Malden, Suffolk County Council, Kent County Council. So it's a whole range. And one of the things that we have as a particular strength, I think, is that obviously, because Career Track is embedded within the council, we understand council culture. So that helps an awful lot in terms of us then being able to deliver to our colleagues in other councils, particularly in Essex, but also on that wider range as well. And as Debbie Ann was referring to, that Public Service Delivery Officer, I think I've got it right, or near enough, it's a ridiculously long title. We usually abbreviate it to PSODO, and I can remember the letters, I can't remember what it stands for, is a particular strength, because as I say, that's specifically designed for those that are working in the public sector, within local authorities and within civil service. So there aren't many organisations, many training providers that deliver that, so we're in a unique place to be able to do that. And it was that actually led to us being able to start working with Suffolk County Council. And we're also working now with Mid Suffolk as well, aren't we?
Mid Suffolk and Baby, yeah.
So it's still gradually expanding as well. And we do also support a number of local sort of businesses too. So, you know, it's not just about public authorities. We do also work with a number of private employers as well. And as you can see there, usually we have around 40 to 50 apprentices. It goes up and down. At level 2, they're usually with us for about a year to 18 months. Mm-hmm. At level 3, it's 18 months to 2 years. So we have quite a rapid churn of apprentices joining us and then moving on. So obviously keeping that recruitment going is a very key part also of what we have within Career Track.
As an example, at Suffolk County Council, we're working in the recycling and refuse centre. So we're actually delivering a public service operational delivery officer apprenticeship standard to somebody that works in that industry, which wouldn't necessarily have attracted a customer service or a business admin apprenticeship. And at Kent County Council, we're actually working with the virtual school who support young people in care and care leavers. And we're actually delivering 8 apprenticeship programs to care leavers who are employed by the virtual school and work with children in care. So that is actually an amazing project that we're involved in. And we are currently talking to Essex Virtual School Essex, to see if we can replicate something more local. So this is our second, fingers crossed. We promote ourselves using social media. During the COVID pandemic, we weren't able to necessarily celebrate and get together with our apprentices and employers as we would do normally. So you remember I referred to National Apprenticeship Week previously when we celebrated our 40th birthday. The National Apprenticeships before that, the National Apprenticeship Weeks before that, we created some social media content. So we celebrated online. And this is an example of an apprentice interview that one of my team members undertook with a member of staff from the HR team, who is now a HR advisor, I believe. She's been with us as an apprentice for 2 or 3 years, and she's now employed within the team, within Katie's team. So hopefully this will work. Yeah.
Recording. Okay. Good morning. Could you introduce yourself for our video, please?
I'm Lauren, and I'm currently the HR generalist for Tendra District Council.
Brilliant, thank you. So what apprenticeship did you complete, Lauren?
So I completed my business administration, both level 2 and 3. And I think I finished my 3 in 2014.
Wow, brilliant. And why did you apply for the apprenticeship in the first place?
Well, before I started, I was currently working at McDonald's, so I kind of needed an actual career. And I was always told that HR was a good place to go, so I thought I'd give it a go.
Brilliant, thank you. So what did you most enjoy about your apprenticeship programme?
It was learning all the different aspects of HR, because it's such a varied career. So there's lots going on, and it's learning all the different parts of it.
Brilliant, thank you. And what element of your apprenticeship did you find most beneficial for your career development?
I would say the support I got from not only just the actual HR team, but also from the career track team. So it was all the support of being able to do the qualification and just general learning.
Thank you. And do you think the apprenticeship programme directly impacted on your career opportunities? Like, would you be in the place you are now if you hadn't have completed your apprenticeships?
It definitely impacted. No, it did definitely impacted, because obviously I'm still in the same team now, 10 years later. And obviously I've just progressed within the team, up and up.
So you're currently an HR generalist, which is actually another promotion for you recently. So you've gone up even further. So well done to you for that. And so could you give me one piece of advice that you would give an apprentice on the programme now?
I would probably just say just to keep working hard and learn all that they can from the team that they're currently in, because even if they don't get the role within the same team, all the skills that they learn doing the apprenticeship is all transferable, and it will help them in the future.
Definitely, totally agree with you, Lauren. That's brilliant. Thank you so much for your time this morning, and well done for get your career and getting so far. You're doing brilliantly. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
As you can see, they're part of our team, aren't they? So we
absolutely.
special.
And actually, there's a footnote to that. Lauren has gone on. Actually, she did another apprenticeship. As if she hadn't had enough of doing those two, she went on to do a third apprenticeship, which was an example of someone starting with career track, then learning with a different provider. So she went to Colchester Institute, did her level 5 in CIPD to become fully qualified as a professional HR, and that's what she is now. She got a distinction. She qualified just at the end of this year, earlier this year. She got a distinction in that. And as I say, she's now a fully qualified an HR advisor and part of the team. But she started when I first knew her, about 7 or 8 years ago now. She wouldn't say boo to a goose.
Thank you, Karen. Right, so this is a very short promotional video. So we spend a lot of our time working with schools and attending employer events, the jobs fair in September here at TDC. And obviously we do use social media as one of our main areas to promote the career track programme. So this is an example of, we're doing quite well with 3 out of 3, hopefully.
Hopefully, don't tempt fate.
So we operate under agreement with the Department for Education, the DfE. We receive funding via the Education and Skills Funding Agency, and as many of you may know, we are inspected by Ofsted. We have a small board of governors, and I'd like to welcome our chair of governors, which is Councillor Gina Placey, which includes the chief executive, 3 governors from outside TDC. We're chaired by Gina, and she's obviously the portfolio holder for partnerships. So just to introduce back to Carol again, we are one training provider for apprenticeships. Carol's mentioned previously that the council used other training providers.
Yeah, and so we've touched on a lot of this as well, so I'll move this on fairly quickly. But we have had a lot of people who've gone through and achieved degrees. We've currently got somebody who's studying at master's degree level through an apprenticeship, but they're studying for a master's degree level apprenticeship in accountancy. And we do manage to grow our own surveyors. We've got one person who's just about finished. We've got another one who's gained their degree, but it's just got to get their professional certification. What those of you who know the industry, their RIC certification. And we've got 2 others who are now just starting in terms of doing their degree to become qualified surveyors as well. And of those 4, 3 are women. So we're also starting to get, women are starting to go into an area that's been traditionally dominated by males. So that's a nice piece of change as well. And just to give you a very quick idea, currently we've got apprentices in doing a level 4 in antisocial behaviour and community safety officer. We've got 2 people doing that. We've got others that are doing management degrees up to level 5 and level 6. Chartered surveyors I've mentioned. We've got somebody who's completed their level 3 in assistant accountant and going on to do their level 4. We've got arborists, and we've got a legal executive who again is just doing their level 6, that's degree, and she's almost finished. So it's a whole range of different things. And quite honestly, without a degree apprenticeships, we would not, as a council, we would not be able to afford to grow our own to the extent that we do. Because for somebody to do a degree through the traditional pathway will cost somewhere in the region of £30,000. And through being able to do that through apprenticeships, we're able to grow our own, give people that start in their careers, and strengthen, obviously, our own workforce in the process. And then a few other things that we've got as our main targets and priorities for this year and going into next as well. So obviously we want to maintain and increase the number of apprentices. We want to increase the range of employers and general awareness of Career Track, and that video that hadn't got much set and had just got a new musical soundtrack was very much about promoting Career Track to employers, saying something about its history, saying something about what the opportunities are, saying something about what the different types of apprenticeship are that are available. We've got board of governors and ongoing development of those. When Ofsted comes back, we want to be able to get a good rating. And obviously we want to continue growing our own. And I think that's it. I think we've had more than our time. So thank you very much.
Are there any questions? Councillor Stevenson.
Yes, please. I love apprentices. I think it's absolutely superb. Sounds like you're doing brilliantly. Do you do like plumbers, mechanics? Because we've got loads of council buildings and vehicles. Do you employ those kind of apprentices?
Yes, we have. There was, we can't train them ourselves, but at Colchester Institute, they did a generic apprenticeship that would be multi-trade. And we had 2 or 3 that have gone through that in the past. At the moment, that seems to be coming to an end. They don't seem to be running that at the Institute at the moment. But we have got somebody who's about to start, or certainly looking into, for instance, doing an apprenticeship in bricklaying. So, yes, we do still try and encourage that as much as we possibly can.
And also, I train you, take money, I get a qualification, and then they leave.
Very few. Very few. The majority stay.
And also, the question, because we've got lots of permanent staff. So, can the apprentices get promoted? They might get so far as with permanent jobs. Can they get higher up?
Do you want to take
Yes,
that one?
they can. We've got examples of people. Gary Guyver was a career track apprentice. That is a perfect example. But the 13%, our apprentices, when they're on the career track programme, we just talk about those. The majority, and I'll probably say 60, 70, 80% of them are employed in a TDC contracted position before they've achieved their apprenticeship. So they've already started and they fly. They will. There's not very many of them that stay still, if you like, and they do continue to progress. And they progress on using the apprenticeship programme with other training providers, if not just with us. So yeah. We are a require improvement. We've had a monitoring visit, which is what follows on from requiring improvement, and we have been graded as reasonable progress due to the time period of the monitoring visit, and we're waiting for them to return for a full inspection. No idea. It could be on Monday, they could call. So yes, and turn up next week. I'm happy to share with you further information if you wanted to know about the inspection. I think it would be fair to say that we were inspected just after lockdown, and what we've done since is establish a board of governors and rewritten our curriculum. So we're in a really strong place now to greet the inspectors whenever they return. So yes.
Councillor Culver's just said Martin Knappert was another one that was homegrown. Yeah, they're all shaking their heads. So yes.
Deputy Chief Executive.
Yeah. So, Councillor Davidson.
Yeah, that's answer your question. First of all, I'd like to applaud you for apprentice. I'm an ex-apprenticeship myself. I'm an ex-apprentice. Is all of the apprentices homegrown, or do you take them from the outside world?
We do occasionally employ people who've been already on an apprenticeship, and occasionally somebody might join us. They might be part way through, because if somebody's doing an apprenticeship, they're not tied to that particular employer. So somebody could be part way through doing an apprenticeship, decide to change employer, join us, and continue with that apprenticeship. So that can happen. And if somebody has been trained as an apprentice through a different employer, then obviously we would treat them just the same as we would any other applicant. So yeah.
But would you do you consider taking school leavers from?
Oh, we do take school leavers.
Okay, that could lead you on to a question. Can you tell me how you recruit these people, these youngsters, please?
Yes, of course. So how do we recruit them? So what we do is we are obliged through our agreement with the government to advertise on a national apprenticeship website. So we advertise there. The employers will also advertise through their normal, so TDC will advertise through their normal recruitment process. And then we work with all of the schools in the area, both in tendering, and we go out to Colchester, Braintree, Malden. So we work across the county and promote apprenticeships. So in years, I guess when they're sort of 12, 13, 14, young people are finding out about their options, and apprenticeships are promoted in that way as well.
I've never heard of an apprenticeship scheme being put out to the people of Harwich, for instance. I've never seen it, never heard of it. Not one of them youngsters have said to me, I've been offered the ideas that I'm going for an apprenticeship. So I wonder why it's not getting out to sort of the outskirts of Harwich and parks and people like that. And if it is, I'd like to know where it's being advertised so I can tell them. Perhaps you could send me the details at some time.
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
That would be absolutely fine. Yeah.
Yes. May I ask another question, please? How, with the recruitment of your apprentices, are all the positions filled, or do you have excellent? So there's a huge demand for them, and
yes, there is a huge demand. We do have to re-advertise sometimes. I think since lockdown, the application and recruitment process for young people has changed. I think that a lot of them are looking at staying on at school or staying on, in alternative education. We do sometimes re-advertise the same as we would do with any other vacancy, but I don't think I can't think of a vacancy that we haven't been able to fill. We just look at doing something slightly different, or further Facebook promotion, for example, to get it out there to the right people.
And so you go to all the schools and stuff, do you? Because like sometimes I saw on Facebook, like kids are wanting anybody know an apprenticeship for a plumber or things like that.
Yes.
So you go into schools and tell them that's available.
Yes, we do. And schools should be directing their pupils to the National Apprenticeship website. It's an amazing gov.uk website where every single apprenticeship should be advertised, and that would be the route for application, either to the government website or directly to the employer. So we put the link onto the employer's website for the application process to go through to them.
Thank you, Chairman. I was also going to mention that obviously Debbie Ann's talked about the applicants for Career Track, and we have obviously an abundance of people that apply for our apprenticeships. But I think our priority now, coming out of the pandemic, is we want more employers on board. So that would be my ask for you as councillors. If there are employers out there that you're working with or who would like an apprentice, to make that connection with Debbie Ann, because that's really a priority for us now, because numbers have slightly dipped as we've gone through the pandemic. We're trying to build Career Track back up now. So any of those contacts, we're happy to follow through. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you very much. Go to item 7, report of Assistant Director Partnerships, A1, whistleblowing policy and procedure. And I think that's Jo, yes?
Thank you, Chairman. I've got the pleasure of talking through the report to update the Human Resources and Council Tax Committee on the review of the Council's whistleblowing policy in line with identified best practice and employment legislation. Just to cover, whistleblowing is an action someone takes to report wrongdoing at work. For example, where there has been suspected misconduct, illegal acts or failure to act within the Council's established governance frameworks. Whistleblowing is more formally known as making a disclosure in the public interest. Whistleblowing was introduced by the Public Interest Disclosure Act of 1998 and now part of the Employment Rights Act 1996. The legislation provides the legal protection given to whistleblowers when specific criteria is satisfied. An employee or worker must not be subject to disciplinary action, dismissed or subjected to any other detrimental treatment if they've made a disclosure in good faith, and there is a protected and qualified disclosure. So the whistleblowing policy and procedure document makes it clear that employee can raise those concerns without fear of victimisation, subsequent discrimination or disadvantage or dismissal. It is intended to encourage and enable employees to raise serious concerns within the council rather than overlooking the problem or blowing the whistle outside of the organisation. The whistleblower policy is not intended to replace existing procedures which we have. If a matter of concern should be treated as a grievance or complaint, then as well they can report it through their line management structure. Employees are asked to consider whether the application of these procedures is more appropriate. The policy applies not only to employees of Tendring District Council, but also there's a wider definition of workers. So therefore it includes employees of contractors working for the council, for example, agency staff, employees of suppliers, those providing services under a contract or other agreement with the council, and voluntary workers. Elected members of the council are not covered by the policy, and they should be referred to the member officer relations protocols and ultimately the head of paid service. And also members of the public, if they want to make a disclosure, they should be following the council's anti-fraud and corruption strategy or following our complaints procedure. So obviously the council's whistleblowing policy has undergone a comprehensive review. The previous policy was drafted in 2015, so some time ago. And the revised document provides more clarity on the terms used, including a section entitled definitions to make it a bit more clearer for people reading it. And the guidance on the procedure that needs to be followed when making a disclosure is being strengthened and widened. The amended policy and procedure offers a fair and consistent approach to all employees and workers. It gives clear guidance what alleged concerns of wrongdoings are covered by the policy and what procedures should be followed where someone wants to make a protected disclosure about the concern or wrongdoing. It also highlights when it's appropriate to use other internal policies, such as the grievance, harassment and bullying, equality and diversity job evaluation complaints procedures. And it gives sort of specific timescales to make sure that we deal with things in a timely manner. The updated policy also contains the new contact details for the Charity Protect, which was previously known as Public Concern at Work. And it also looks at other appropriate advice and support that we can give our employees and workers. As we know, it's not always an easy thing to have to, to go through that process. Finally, the updated policy promotes the Council's dedicated whistleblowing helpline, whistleblowing at tendering dc.gov.uk, which all of those wishing to make a complaint can use, and that goes through to the partnerships team. So that's all I want to say on the policy. It's recommended that Human Resources and Council Tax Committee approves and adopts the Council's updated whistleblowing policy and procedure. But if anyone's got any questions, then please.
Thank you. Are there any questions? No, your recommendation is on page 10, and I do need a proposer and seconder. Chairman? And everyone agrees it? Yep. Thank you very much. Right, item 8, report of Assistant Director, Partnerships, A2 Workforce Update Report, which starts on page 27, and I think that's Jo as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. This is a standard report which is provided to the Human Resources and Council Tax Committee periodically. So obviously we do it ever so often. The Workforce update provides current staffing statistics, included contracted staff, casual workers, apprenticeship numbers, and our gender balance, age, disability, and ethnicity profiles, and the latest sickness absence data. A summary of these staffing stats can be found in Appendix A on page 35. As you will note, the age profile of our staff ranges from 16 to 84. A summary of the highest 3 age profiles by department can be found in Appendix B on page 36 on the agenda. The report also acknowledges the authority's achievement of disability confident leader and family-friendly employer status, along with the Council's gender pay gap figures for 2022 and 23, which have been calculated in line with the regulations set out in the gender pay gap reporting legislation. We are very pleased to report that our figures demonstrate that our gender pay gap remains significantly lower than the reported UK average. The analysis of our gender pay gap figures also tells us there is no material disparity at each pay level within the organisation. Finally, I would like to draw members' attention to the various wellbeing initiatives offered to the workforce, as highlighted by Katie in her report and detailed in the report. It is recommended that content of the report is noted.
Thank you. Any questions? Councillor Stevenson.
Yes, please. Thank you. I see in the report that you're going to you use a software package in HR called Team Spirit, and you're going to be looking at getting a new one. One, why is that? And two, what are the costs and benefits of the new computer system?
One of the reasons that we're moving away from Team Spirit is actually they're stopping providing the support. So we haven't really got a lot of choice, and they're in their new system. They're not going to be giving us the pension information that we need and the work, because it is an HR payroll system. So we have to look elsewhere anyway. We have been looking at other systems, and what we're hoping to do is look at one that's actually used by other our partner organisations, so that we can have some sort of shared working. So that's the plan. Thank you.
Any other questions? Go.
Yes, please. On your stats, you've got people only up to the age of 60. What about people over 60? On the age profile to the TDC, the graph only goes up to 51 to 60.
Yeah, it's the second one in. It's not in order. Page 35. Yeah, you've got the 15 to 20, and then it's got 61 plus. That caught us all out.
Okay, so my next question is, there are a lot of like 40 plus employees. When they, especially the older ones, when they start to retire and leave, how are you going to recruit new people, get people into the jobs, and run the council, really?
Thank you, Councillor Stevenson. So you've heard a lot tonight about our Grow Our Own scheme, and obviously part of that is looking at succession planning. So making sure that we've got those technical skills coming through in all of our areas. We've also the change programme that I spoke about in terms of the senior management restructuring and the restructurings that come on the back of the senior management restructuring. We've looked at succession planning right the way across the organisation, because we're very conscious that obviously that's why we look at our age profile and we know where we've got areas that we may have people, and people may not wish to retire, but we may have people that are looking to retire. So we need to make sure we continue to have those skills coming through.
Okay, thank you. The recommendation is on page 28. It is recommended to the Human Resources Council Tax Committee that the content of this report be noted. I do need a proposer and a seconder. And everyone agreed? Thank you. Item 9, report of Head of Democratic Services and Elections, A3, Human Resources Subcommittee Panel, appointment of the named subcommittee member and a named substitute subcommittee member from a political group that is not represented on the Cabinet. And I'm going to pass this over to Ian Ford.
Thank you, Chairman. Under the relevant regulations, the Council is required to have a subcommittee panel of this committee, which is got the task of forming part of the recruitment and dismissal and disciplinary process for the appointment of senior officers, which would include the Chief Executive, Section 151 officer, the monitoring officer, corporate directors, directors and assistant directors. The panel has the task of undertaking the final review of those applicants for the senior officer posts I just mentioned, who have successfully been shortlisted and have undertaken the necessary technical interviews and assessments. And the panel, having conducted those final interviews, will notify the Assistant Director of Partnerships of the name of the person to whom the post is to be offered, and then of any other matter relevant to the appointment. though in the case of the chief executive and the monitoring officer, the panel will not make a recommendation to the assistant director of partnerships, but their recommendation will be made to full council, because it's full council that makes the ultimate decision when it comes to recruitment to those posts. There are normally 3 members who sit on the subcommittee panel, a member of the cabinet who will be determined on each individual occasion by the leader of the council, the chairman of this committee, or if the chairman is not available, then the vice chairman will sit on the panel, and the 3rd member is a named committee member from a political group that is not represented on the cabinet. Following the district council elections held in May 2019, this committee appointed Councillor Calver as the named member, and with Councillor Morrison as the named substitute member, and they serve throughout the 4-year term. As members will be all too aware, we have just had the latest set of district council elections, and so this committee is now required to reappoint the named committee member and the named substitute committee member for this new council term. And the council has appointed members to this committee, and there are 3 members now serving on this committee who are from a political group that's not represented on the cabinet, and they are councillors Amos, Skills and Guli Elmi. And so this committee is recommended to appoint one of those 3 members to be the named member on the panel, and one of the other 2 members to then be appointed as the substitute member. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Do I have a nomination from your group?
Yes, Chairman. I would like to nominate Councillor Guglielmi as the main member, and the substitute Councillor Skills, if that's okay.
Are you happy with that, Councillor Skills? You're not meant to say that. Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, please.
Okay, and can I just ask the rest of the councillors that you're happy with that? Yes, thank you. Right, item 10, exclusion of press and public. The committee is requested to consider passing the following resolution: that under section 100A bracket 4 of the Local Government Act 1972, the press and public be excluded from the meeting during consideration of agenda items 11 and